Okay, here we are. We're awake. We're live in the Awaken Line Facebook group. Just done a bit of a drop in with Claire, and so my mind is kind of still not quite back yet. But yes, welcome to everyone who's dropping in live or watching on the replay later. And just let me know where you're coming in from. Always good to know who's checking in if you're watching the replay, as most people do. Just drop a hashtag replay. And as I always say, just share your own experiences with what we're going to talk about today. Ask any questions as we go. Love to get your reflections on this work, on your spiritual awakening journey. My cat's just coming up on my lap. Yes, what we're going to focus on today. And by the way, Claire joins me today. I think it's the first time we've had somebody joining live from Colombia, but she's actually been on a plant medicine retreat. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. So she's bringing that energy through today. And so we'll discuss some of her experiences out there with the plants. And I can share some of my own experience as well. I work regularly with the plants. And most importantly, I've titled this live today, The 3 Essentials for Emotional Healing. And this is what I've discovered on my own path through 10 years of healing myself, that there really are 3 essential elements, and we need to be bringing them all into our practice if we're going to have that fully rounded approach to healing, if we're going to see real results in terms of processing our traumas and our shadow and aligning with who we really truly are, or closer to who we really truly are, self-realization. But yes, share your own experiences as we go. We'd love to hear your own experiences. Good to get some other reflections as well. I can see people dropping in, watching live, so welcome. But first of all, welcome, Claire. I know you're in Colombia and it's early in the morning, so appreciate you getting up early for this one. Obviously, Claire's been on before talking about her kind of lifestyle, I guess, and we talked about how she basically travels the world for a living, which is amazing, really, and how she conquers her own fears. But we're going to focus this one on healing, because that's obviously what the plant medicine experience is all about. And in particular, going on a week-long retreat as well. So where would you like to pick it up, Claire, in terms of your experience? And, first of all, what drew you to that particular experience? And what were your sort of main takeaways, if you could even verbalize them? I know it's difficult because you're in essentially another dimension when you're taking these lessons on board. But what comes through for you around the last couple of weeks in particular?
Yeah, those are all very, very good questions, and it's like, where do I start, right? What drew me to this? It's also a very good question. I have to say, I have never done any drugs. I do not like the idea of drugs. I never felt drawn to it.
Drugs is a loaded term, isn't it? Like,
it
for me,
is.
there's a difference.
It is.
Yeah. That's why I say plant medicine.
Yes, absolutely. But it's like I've never sort of had the experience of like being in an altered state of consciousness like that. But because to me it is medicine as well. It is very different. For me personally, I feel like the consciousness is very different, and the purpose is, I don't want to say the purpose is different. I don't know what different people's reasons are and intentions are for taking different substances and working with different, essentially, entities, right? Like everything is an entity. Like I'm drinking a coffee here, and it's an entity. It has its own frequency, its own consciousness. Just like tobacco, like the shamans who administer the medicine, like they work a lot with tobacco because it's another sacred plant, and they call it, grandfather tobacco, and they use it in different forms. And so it's actually, this is one thing that maybe we're going a little bit early into the lessons that I learned, but this is one sort of lesson that I've learned on the medicine, and that I think is really beautiful, and I like to bring it through. It's like the sacredness and ceremoniousness and intentionality of anything.
Yes.
So I went for this journey because the way it was presented to me, like the place where I went and where I drank the medicine, is extremely special. It's very non-commercial. Like you cannot just find about it online and go. You need to know somebody who's been there personally and has a personal relationship and who can bring you. And so I was lucky to, go with a community that has a very good relationship established with these women. So there's these women shamanistas who have been doing this pretty much their whole lives. Well, I mean, yes, their whole lives. Like the main shaman, the woman is around 80 years old, and she's been in teaching since she was 7 years old with this medicine. Then she has two daughters who help her out. One of them told me she had her first lick of the medicine or sip of the medicine when she was about 2 years old.
Yeah.
So they grow up with this medicine, with this consciousness. They're very familiar with it. They know how to work with it. They prepared the medicine very, very deep down in the jungle, secluded from all the outside forces. There's no other people around because they say, and as we know, right, everything is energy and energy influences everything. So it's when you cook the medicine and whatever goes into it, whatever influences around, whatever energy you have, it's everything goes into the medicine and it influences the medicine. So it's just them secluded preparing the medicine in calm and separation. And then they bring it in. And then these women, they're just they're actually psychic. They're literally they know everything. They tell you what to do, but it's
Right.
they see things. They're almost clairvoyant. They're
Yeah.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. You look at them and you're like, what? How are you telling me the things you're telling me? Yeah. So it's a very, very special place, and just the land. And so another thing that happens is that where we drink the medicine, it's on the land, it's in nature, and you have this connection to the land, and you can go and be anywhere around this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful garden. And that's just such a game changer. I would not go and do it in somewhere indoors after this experience. But
Right.
For me, that feels so right, and I would just not go and sit down and in a building and lie on a mat. It just feels so wrong to me. I basically spend the whole week just going around and lying on the ground and just feeling the earth and walking barefoot. And at some point I was dancing with the trees and just really just thanking the earth for everything, for it's really what we're part of. So for me, that was when I heard about this place, it's it sounds really good, but then you hear about it and you can't really imagine, and then you go and the first day you're what is this place? It's kind of simple, the accommodation's not very good, what's going on? And then you experience it, and then you just I don't ever want to leave. It's the best place on planet Earth. It makes the most sense to just be here on the land, connected to the land, live a simple life, live with the plants, live with the elements and the animals, and just be connected, right? So to me, that was very intriguing when I first heard about it, and I was I need to have that experience. I don't know. I was scared, of course. It's weird. I've never done anything like that. I was never drawn to any kind of an experience like that. But this, I want to try that out in my lifetime, right? So that's why I was drawn to this, and I have to say, it was probably the best, most powerful week of my life. It was. We returned 2.5 weeks ago, so it's still very fresh.
Still out there.
I kept saying I'm still landing. I feel like I'm kind of landed right now, but I think I've landed back in this world, in this
in 3D
plane, exactly. But it's extremely different. It's just the way I see myself, the way I see the world, the way I see life, our purpose here, why are we even here, the way I see, just my future. Everybody's the purpose of life. I don't even know how to. It's so difficult to put it into words, right? But yeah, it's very different. It's like once you get these lessons so strong, you just know. Like, how can you unknow when you know?
Yes, and it is almost impossible to verbalize this stuff because you're accessing a dimension beyond language, beyond the small self or the ego. So it's more of a kind of felt sense experience is what I get. And then on the way down, there is kind of like this conversation that takes place between you and the medicine. Like lessons are given to you, more kind of like practical stuff I get sometimes on the way down. But in the middle of it, it really is just like the boundaries around who you are dissolve. And so you merge back into everything. And then there is no language as such. It's kind of like a felt sense experience. But I get the sense of some profound lessons taking place, downloads taking place as well when I'm in that space. But very hard to verbalize or even remember what happened. It's like a dream almost. But you come out on the other side of it and you know that you've experienced something profound, that healing has taken place, that you've upgraded in some way as a human being. Yeah. Very, very powerful experiences. But there's something you were touched on before there at the start where you talked about the calling. The thing I wanted to mention is that, I always say this to people. I never kind of like recommend plant medicine to anybody because it has to come from a personal calling. Obviously, you got that. You felt, well, you can maybe tell me what you felt, but it felt like a yes in your system somehow, and you followed that, invested in yourself. You're brave, and you've got the rewards from doing that. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily experience that everyone should do. Yes. It's like if you're called, go for it, conquer your fear, and you'll get what you need rather than what you want, which is what the shamans always say. But it's not a case that everybody should go and do this work. And indeed, people do go out there. And I do want to kind of like give the other side of this, whereby you can go out there, have an amazing experience like Claire. I know people that have been out to Peru, for example, and had very, very difficult experiences. And it's taken them 6 months or a year to even feel like they've got any kind of balance or stability in their lives again. So, it can literally just unopen the box in terms of what's in there, what's been compressed and stuck in your system. And if it all comes up at the same time, very, very difficult. So that's why it's not for everybody. Although if you get that calling, it can be completely life-changing.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to speak about that a little bit more. I think it's very, very important. So this is very interesting because my mentors that I've gone with, they have gone to that place 7 times, I think. And they've done a tremendous amount of work. One of them has done nearly 100 ceremonies, right? So like they know the medicine very well. They've experienced and seen a lot of things when other people drink the medicine. And they said that this year was the absolutely calmest.
Interesting.
Calmest process, for the whole group. Like there was no drama. I mean, I don't use the word drama, but like different things happen when people drink the medicine. Like literally people would turn into animals, and like the women would have to like beat them with a tree to like get it out of them, like because they would just not respond at all. Like multiple people, so there can be up to 12 people, and multiple people would like be like screaming or crying or just like just going insane at the same time. And like the women would have to be like constantly like interacting with all these people, just absolute madness. And this time we had none of that. Like sometimes somebody was like going through a difficult experience, but we didn't have any of that. We didn't have anybody going insane. Nobody had to be beaten up with a tree. Like we didn't have multiple people going through something. It was, and so what we said is that it really reflects like the amount of work that people who have come this time have done. And it was really interesting. So I have to say for myself, like the first day I had a very difficult experience. I was just very sick, like extremely sick, and it just wouldn't stop. And and I felt very weak, and I just, and it just, like I just, and like maybe like three different lessons came through, which were very important, and then I like got to keep them, but they were just like a short realization, and then like, most of the day I was just like in like a very bad, like sick, intoxicated state, just like different images were going through, but they were like not, they were just like images, like I was just like tripping, like it was not, I was like, oh, what happened, like I forgot what I just saw, like I need to remember it because probably it was important, what was the lesson, I don't even know what it was, and then I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to linger on that, like if it's gone, it's gone, if I don't remember, I don't remember, maybe it wasn't important, or maybe it was important, maybe I took what I needed and I consciously forgot, but maybe it did something to me, it's like whatever, don't linger, like move on, that was like most of the lesson from this, so like just like whatever, just let it go, if it's gone, it's gone, if it's gone, it's gone. But so I had a very, very, very difficult day the first day. It was just like suffering. But when the medicine first kicked in on the first day, I started crying because like there was something that I was processing. It wasn't even mine. It was like a collective, generations and generations and lifetimes of collective trauma, and I was like crying and just wailing and like sadness and anguish, and they took me out, and then one of the like we are space holders, so like we know that when somebody's going through an experience, like we don't talk them out of it, like we just let them process, we let them express whatever they need to express as long as they need to express it, right? And so what happens is that they like sit with me and they're like, enough suffering, stop the suffering, no more suffering, freedom, focus on freedom, focus on joy, focus on love. And I'm like, okay.
Almost bypass the experience.
Thank you. I want to cry.
Yeah.
That's it, right? It was very strange because that's not what we do. And I was like, okay. and then they were like, that's good. And I'm like, oh, I got this. And then I didn't cry anymore. I didn't scream. And then I went to have a second cup of the medicine. I was like, okay, now I feel good. Like, now I feel nothing again. Like, I'm going to have a second cup. Then I had a second cup. And then when it started, the physical sickness started. And then I was just like nauseous and sick for the rest of the day. But I think that was the lesson I needed, because that dropped in, and for the rest of the week, I was just in bliss and beauty, and I spent one day I just spent in absolute fucking ecstasy.
Yeah.
I experienced utmost ecstasy, like almost unbearable amount of pleasure, when I was like, I can't take this much pleasure. I can't. Sure. My body's not, like, it's unpleasant because it's too much for like 4 hours to every single cell of my being. And
that's healing.
And so what really came through for me, can you hear me?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah. It's a bit choppy, but I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So what really came through for me was that suffering is a choice.
Right.
And freedom is a choice.
Pain is essential. Pain
choice.
You can't avoid pain, but suffering is optional. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you follow Marcy Locke a little bit, and I feel very inspired by her, right? It's this coach, this lady who also studied a lot of plant medicine, and she says like our natural state is bliss and joy, and a lot of people are like, how can that be? And I resonate with that. I really do, and I've heard about her experiences of medicine where she just like spends like the entire day just like in like pleasure, bliss, like being ravished by the universe, and I was like, that sounds cool, right? But it's like, I'm not gonna go into the medicine journey and be like, oh, I'm sure I'm gonna experience that. Like, how many people experience that, right? Yeah. And so the first day I had a very difficult experience, and the second day, like when I took the medicine, I was waiting for it to kick in. I was like, and they told us like, oh, just remember, every day is different. Today your experience could be completely different. You could experience joy, it could be beautiful. And I was like, oh, it could be beautiful today. And then I was like, yeah, probably not me. Never mind. And then I was like, you know what? I surrender. Like I surrendered completely. Medicine. Yeah. I know you mean no harm. I know you want the best for me. I know you're going to bring in what I most need. I know you're good. I know you'll do the best for me. Whatever you need to take me through, I surrender. If I need to have another horrible experience like I had yesterday, which was extremely challenging, if that's what I need, I fucking surrender. I let go. And then like these massive wisdom started dropping in, like started understanding things about my family, about myself, about the relationships between different people in my family, my relationship with all the different members of my family, why I am the way I am, because my grandmother was the way she is, and then my mother was the way she is. And it's just like from this one memory, it's like everything like unraveled like that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like this is some insane stuff. And I was waiting for the emotion. I was like, this is some really like tough stuff to see about your family. And I was waiting for the emotion, for like the sadness and the crying and the anguish and like the desperation and the frustration. And there was nothing.
Right.
I was like, nothing? Like, is it coming? Like, what's going on? And there was nothing. I was just watching and I was just understanding. And I was like, wow. It's profound. It's like, is there more that I need to know? Is there more that I need to know? Is there something from the other side of my family that I need to know? And then nothing else was coming through. And I was like, that's interesting. And then something else changed. And then I was getting like these visions of my future. And it's like really, really like big images. And I was like, no, this can't be the future. Like, that's not going to be my future. Like, that's too big. Like, what do you like? It's like, yeah, no, this is it. Like, this is you. And I'm like, no, like, stop. And then she kept showing me for like 2 hours, and I was like, "Go away! Like this is not okay."
Okay, right.
And she just
was it that you would the powerful version of you in the future? Was that what kind of like was too much for you?
Could say that.
I've had that as well. It's like you're going to bring through something big. Yeah, it is a lot to comprehend.
It is a lot,
accept.
And it like also includes other people, and then you like where other people are in the point in their life right now, like it doesn't make any sense, like it's not feasible, or like like you would sort of
doubt it,
like you would sort of make other people's lives difficult if you came to them and were like, hey, stop whatever you're doing, and like this is how you need to change your life and break all these commitments, and this is what we need to do. Like it would just not be okay like that. But you never know, right? Like the universe has its own way of figuring things out. But it was like, you can't, like I'm like, stop making me looking at that. Like it's wrong. Like it's because current situations don't allow for these kind of things. And so for 2 hours, she's just showing me like this and this and that, and that's how it's going to be amazing and it's perfect. And yeah, and that's how you're going to change the world and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, go away. And eventually after like 2 hours, so it was really awesome because the medicine, the women, so you can see that my jaw is like a little bit inflamed, and like the women, like I've had struggle with my jaw for like months and 2 years maybe now. And the women see me the first day and they're like, what's up with your jaw? It's so inflamed and da.
Wow.
And then on the second day, they're like, you need to focus on your own healing. And she like touches my forehead. She's like, today you need to focus on your own healing. And I'm like, okay. And so I go lie down and I'm like, I'm here to focus on my own healing. Focus. And then for the rest of the day, I repeated it to myself at least 50 times. I was like, I'm here to focus on my own healing. And so whenever like my mind would go and like think about somebody else or something else, or like I was seeing these visions and I couldn't see how I could go and do something about that right now, or like it wasn't quite dependent on me but on somebody else, I was like, fuck this, I am here to focus on my own healing. What can I do? What can I do for myself? And then eventually I was like, fuck this, I'm done with this, I've been looking at this for 2 hours, what can I do about this? Like, I'm here to focus on my own healing, let's do that. And then she's like, okay, go outside. And I'm like, okay. So I go outside and there's music, and then I'm like, oh, there's nature and music, and the music's so good. And I just started dancing, and I was dancing with the trees, and it was so blissful. And I started getting all these like light downloads, and like I saw so much light, and I just connected with like some divine goddess consciousness, and I was like breaking through all these like structures and all that conditioning, like all these shells that are holding me, that have been keeping inside whatever I am, like the bigness that I am. And like, it's like I don't know if people here know, but it's like people when they're like just let go. It can be on medicine, it happens a lot, but it can also happen in meditation if you're quite sensitive and attuned to energy, and if you're like surrender and give permission. Like we can channel different things, we can channel different beings, we can channel different energies. Our body can start doing weird things, like we can start shaking, my eyes twitch a lot all the time. We can start making sounds. So I started like making these sounds and like the most unbelievable like frequencies and octaves and cadences and like, and I'm not doing it, I'm just allowing it to come through. And this happened at least 2 or 3 times during that day, and it's like I'm just like watching and listening to like, I'm like, is my body doing that? Like that is absolutely insane. And it's just these like sounds like going ooh, like up and down, like these like very impressive sounds. And I'm just like, well, I guess this is what we're doing right now. Like that's kind of fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And that went on, and I don't even know what happened there. Like, but it was, and then, well, actually, yeah, we had 2 ladies there who are like very powerful energy healers. And one of them said, yeah, like I saw you when you were making these sounds and all that. I really saw you breaking through these like crystal, like these like rigid wall, glass wall around you structures. And you were sort of like breaking free out of that, like, you know, like that imprisonment, like how I hold everything together. So that was very, very interesting. And then that allowed me the next day to just spend the whole day in absolute just bliss and ecstasy and pleasure and love, feeling love for myself, feeling pleasure, feeling connected with the world, the universe, feeling so loved by, you know, everybody else there, just spending the second half of the day just hanging out with people and feeling seen and appreciated by them, like receiving words of love. It was so beautiful. But so to go back to what we started talking about, you know, I've been doing a lot of personal work, like my own work, trauma healing, you know, working on myself, like sitting with my emotions, sitting with all the stuckness, all the unresolved issues and trauma for more than 3 years now. And I've processed a lot of it, and I've sat with a lot of sadness and anger and frustration and self-hatred and fear and whatnot for the past 3 years, like intensively. And so what I think happened was, you know, I've done so much work. Like I know how to sit with pain. I know how to sit with. Exactly. I know how to suffer. Yeah. I know how, like, I'm not afraid, like, I can let go of these things and I can scream and shout and process and cry at home without any medicine and look at these difficult things. And I've done that. And I feel like the medicine is like, okay, like, we see you can surrender. We see you know how to suffer. We see you know how to, like, deal with pain. We see you, you know how to get these messages. Like, you're not afraid to keep going there, but let me show you what else is possible. But you know that extreme ecstasy and pleasure is possible too. Like this is what you experience right now.
Contrast.
And this is what I got to experience, you know, and I, you know, and I'm so happy because I wanted to go last year, and I didn't get to go, and I was really sad about it. But now I'm so happy I went this year and that I didn't go last year, because I was a completely different human being last year. You know. Yeah. I was in a very different place, and I would have experienced something very different. And even like the way I interacted with people there, with the medicine and with myself, and how I understood the lessons and how I was ready for all the lessons, it was just absolutely perfect. Like it would have been completely different last year, and I'm just so grateful for that. And I also want to say, as a point of contrast, so I met up with actually somebody very close to me, coincidentally, did plant medicine at the same time for the first time in their lives.
Okay.
And then we met for 3 days in Bogota, in Colombia. And their experience, because they decided to go for plant medicine because like some trauma was opening up, and they were like, fuck, like I have a lot of issues and like relationship issues and like fear and sadness and depressive kind of, you know, feelings and like I need to work on that. So they went and done mushrooms, I believe. And their experience was just like and for the first time ever experiencing that, right? Just like shaking, like the trauma release, like the physical body, like trauma release, when you just shake and you just like in like convulsions and the body's just like
processing.
You know, processing like a gazelle when after a gazelle sees a lion and then you just sort of like shake it out and then it's out. And so they were super excited because for them, this was the first time they experienced anything like that, right? And they literally just spent 3 days just releasing trauma like that and just seeing scenes from their childhood and like seeing, you know, just like remembering and like, wow, this happened and this is why I never felt safe in my life. Like I always, you know, hear this and I always feel that. And like I was crying and this and that. And it's so beautiful, right? But just again, for the contrast, like I've done a lot of that in the past few years without medicine. And so now when I took the medicine, I was able to have different kinds of, and I'm not saying this to say that anything is wrong or right. I think it's absolutely pure perfect. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so extremely overjoyed for this person that they had this kind of an experience and it was a massive opening and it was beautiful. It was exactly what they hoped for. It was exactly what they needed. But I'm just saying it to show you that like, you know, there's so many people who just heard the word ayahuasca and they heard it's cool and it's like the cool new agey experience thing to
bucket
do.
list thing. Yeah.
I would not recommend.
No.
I don't want to judge it. I do judge it, and I don't want to because I don't like to judge things. I'm sorry. Part of me judges that. Like, it feels very unsafe to me. It feels very unsafe to me. It's like I wouldn't do anything, especially any mind-altering substance of any sort, if I don't feel safe. If I don't know who I'm doing it with. If I don't know the people I'm doing it with really well, if I can't trust the substance really well, if I, you know, whatever it is, like
you have to feel safe.
Safe self in your own experience. And obviously, like, and if you feel safe no matter who's around, then that's perfect. If you have that strong sense of safety within yourself, perfect. If you don't, you need to feel safe with the people you're doing it with. You need to trust them that the medicine's good. You need to trust that the environment is good for you. If you don't feel safe, I personally am afraid that it could do more harm than good. So I would not recommend anyone who, I mean, honestly, for me, I think it's important to have done a lot of work on yourself, to know what you can expect, to have some sort of a connection to divinity, to spirituality, because to me, it's not a drug. I don't see it, yes, it's a psychedelic, but I don't see it as a psychedelic. I see it as a divine consciousness, as a medicine, as something very sacred, as a tool to enhance your healing, your spirituality, your connection to the divine, your connection to self. And I struggle with people who just like, oh, it's just another drug, it's just another psychedelic. No, you could maybe chemically, you can describe it that way, but I really struggle with that. And for me, I think it's very important to have some sort of a faith in something higher above us and to have a curiosity about yourself, your soul. Why are we here for? To have some questions that you kind of hope to get answered, and also to be. So I talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but like the intentionality, the respect, the reverence, the sacredness. Really, it's like when you drink the medicine, like every single day, they ask you what is your intention from day one, right? And I think it's so important because, and this really came through to me. So I don't know if you know about rapé. It's like rapé. It's another type of plant medicine.
Yeah.
It's tobacco usually mixed with other herbs that they like take in the Amazon. They prepare it and then like a shaman like sniffs it and like blows it into your nose. And it's extremely purging, cleansing, grounding. And so I did that. I did that. I've heard about it before. I did it the first time ever this summer, and I did it like almost on a weekly basis for like a month or two. And I loved it. My body loves it, responds super well to it. And every time we took it twice during one evening, every time. And every time there was an intention. It was like, think about your intention, Can I go? There you go. And so every time I had an intention, and now somebody brought some rapé to the jungle where we were drinking the medicine, And I love the rapid, so I was like, can I have some rapid? But then because nobody was reminding me to set an intention, I did it. And then I realized, like, because I loved it.
We may be losing you a bit there, Claire. I think you're breaking up a bit.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me?
There you go, you're back. We lost that last bit.
Can you hear me?
That's fine. I tell you what, let me just jump in a minute, because I do want to, I'm sure you could talk for the rest of the day about this experience, because it is so powerful and life transforming. But I do just want to bring it back a little bit, because, you know, as we said before, these experiences are amazing. It's an amazing tool. And if you're called, it can be completely life transforming, like Claire's talking about there. I think we might have lost Claire a little bit with her connection, but that gives you an opportunity to bring us back a little bit to the subject matter. Because as powerful as these tools are, they aren't for everybody. And as I said, you know, people who don't have the right setting, as Claire's talking around there, who don't have the right intention, or perhaps have a lot of unresolved trauma, it can be, you know, a very, very challenging experience as well. So we need to bear that in mind. But I just wanted to bring us back a bit to what I talked about at the beginning, which is the 3 essentials for emotional healing. And one thing that ayahuasca does, and someone's asking which plant medicine this is. I'll just bring Claire back in. I think she's gone out there. The 3 essentials for emotional healing is what I want to go back to. Hi, Claire. I just bringing us back a little bit to where we started off at. But you covered some amazing ground there, and there's a few things that I wanted to bring up, which is that what ayahuasca teaches very well, the main lesson that comes from ayahuasca in my experience, is surrender. And this is what Claire has done a lot of work on, obviously, in recent years, as you heard. A lot of work I've done on, a lot of the work I do with my clients, Claire does with her clients, is learning how to be with what is, not just the really painful, difficult suffering that we're talking about, that we all know about, how to be with that. Also, how to be with joy and just uncontrollable bliss as well. How do you be with that as well? A lot of the work we do is around how to just be with your experience, how to surrender to what's happening, not need to analyze it or understand it. That will just kind of keep you stuck. Energy, in order to be able to flow, we need to be relaxed. Not only our body needs to be relaxed, and that's one thing Aya does, is it kind of takes the body away, so you've got no choice really to surrender, but also the mind needs to be relaxed as well. It needs to come to rest. So, you know, that's one of the first point in terms of healing and emotional healing. If it's going to happen, you need to bring mind and body to rest. So it doesn't mean lying on a sofa and watching Netflix, or, you know, sitting on a chair and scrolling through Facebook. What we're talking about here is, yes, bring body to rest, and also bringing mind to rest. And the only way that mind comes to rest really is when we're in connection with another. That could be with a plant like Claire's talking about, it could be with a shamanic experience, but it can also happen with another grounded system that we can template safety and support with. So, you know, and, you know, you can have the experience for yourself. When we're meditating on our own, often our conditioned mind is just kind of whirling around in the background, taking us off to the past and the future, trying to plan the day ahead, or regrets of the past, or whatever it might be. When we sit with another in presence, like Claire's talking about there, in a shamanic experience or in a meditation experience, the heart begins to open because the system feels safe, supported, and connected. And only then does the mind come to rest. The mind isn't going to come to rest if the system doesn't feel safe. Only when the system feels safe does the mind come to rest. And that's essential for healing to happen. The kind of healing that Claire's talking about there is because you know, she's done a lot of work on herself in recent years, knows how to surrender, knows how to be with her experience. The second point there I want to talk about is having a dedicated daily practice. So these kind of tremendous life-altering experiences that Claire is describing there in Colombia with ayahuasca, you know, experience like that, as incredible it is going to take some integration. Perhaps we can touch on that a little bit, how Claire is integrating. But if one thing my shaman talks to me about is you don't really want to be having these experiences back to back, really. You want a space in between them to integrate the lessons and the experiences before you get the call to go back again. So a lot of people, some people do these experiences back to back to back to back to back. And the danger there is that you kind of lose your ground completely. The goal with these plant medicines isn't to kind of like be in a permanent altered state, in a permanent different dimension. The idea is that it helps you to, in your human experience, you've chosen this human experience for a reason. The plants are here to help you get the lessons and the learnings and the healings that you have chosen from this human experience. So yeah, it's not really about always having these altered state experiences. We need to ground our experiences in the meantime. This is, you know, I'm sure Claire will talk about this as well, but this is why practices like meditation are so important for the integration work in between. I found personally that I have these kind of experience with ayahuasca weekends. I'm going to Costa Rica in January, having a similar week to what Claire's talking about there. I've been to Peru in the past. I do these kind of experiences maybe these big experiences once every few years. And the rest of the time I come integrating really with this kind of work that myself and Claire do, meditating in groups, one-on-one, opening up to support, integrating our experience to ground the lessons that we got from these big ayahuasca experiences. And the third point I want to talk about, so it's bringing mind and body to rest, having a dedicated daily practice. The third part is support. You know, so many people are trying to do this kind of healing and spiritual development work on their own. You're going to be very, very limited in the amount of progress you can experience on your own. We have to be able to open up to others, open up to support. Healing doesn't happen. It's not a one-on-one sport. I think as my coach told me, it's not a one-on-one sport. It happens when we come together. And most importantly, when we connect with other grounded, supported, safe systems, people that have done a lot of this kind of work themselves, we can then template their system. And, you know, that kind of accelerates our own progress. We can find that safety and support within ourselves to be with our experience, to process emotions fully, and to not get pulled into the, you know, the conditioned mind, which is always trying to judge things, always trying to understand things, always trying to push things away or pull things towards us. And that tightens up the system, blocks energy, and that restricts the healing process. So yeah, I wanted to touch on those three things in particular from my own journey, but what comes up for you, Claire? Do those kind of resonate with you as well?
Absolutely. What you said there, it's a good reminder for me because, you know, as I said, it's very fresh for me. Like I came back like week and a half.
Is it a week and a half?
I think so.
Time's still a bit sketchy.
Yeah, time is a construct anyways. And it's, you know, there's a part of me, like 2 days ago, I was just sitting on the beach the whole day and meditating and thinking about what I've seen and integrating. And then I got myself, and I was just alone on the beach, and it was so beautiful, and I was in this really blissed out state. And then there was this part that was like, can we go and be as blissed out as I was on that medicine when like every single cell of my being was like in extreme, almost unbearable ecstasy.
Yeah.
Like orgasmic bliss, kind of like, ah! And I was like, can we go there? Like, can we go there right now? And it was like, why do not I know how to bring that through? Like if I've experienced it, my body knows it. Like why can't I just go back to that if I know that state, even without the medicine? It was like, maybe I need to go and do more medicine to feel that again, to like imprint it more into my being so that I can really soak it in, and then I can go there without the medicine at any point, right? And so I caught myself in that like longing, right? And it's also like that, like I had this bliss. I also had like that blissed out experience on the beach, but I was all by myself, and I was like, I want to feel so loved again, like when I was surrounded by people that I love and that loved me, and then I was like touching them, and then we were like talking, and we were like appreciating each other and just sharing this moment of bliss together. And it's like, I want to feel that again. Like, why aren't they here? It's like, again, like I want that right now, right here, right now, right? And so it's like, there's like that longing of like, oh, but it was better in the medicine. It's like, oh, I want to go and do more medicine. Like, oh, maybe I should go and do more medicine to like imprint that more within my being. And it's like, my mentor actually said, it's like, well, you think that, but more medicine is not It doesn't mean you're gonna have the same experience at all. Maybe like
Yes.
you're gonna have a completely different experience. Like you don't get attached. Like you glimpsed it once, and now you just, like you said, like the integration. It's like going back. It's like remembering like everything that happened, everything you saw, everything you felt. It's like if you felt it once, now your system knows how it is, and it has access. And yes, maybe I can't bring that absolute bliss and ecstasy through just like that with, you know, the snap of my fingers, like anytime I want to. But like maybe I can bring like 30% of that. You know, maybe I can bring 50% of that. And maybe if I practice that every single day, maybe one day I'll just bring like 80% of that just without any substance whatsoever. Like because you're just learning how to feel that, you know, because it's like, yes, like if like I remember once I had a client that I worked with, and he was like enjoying, this person was like just met somebody and they liked them, and there was like all this and I don't know, and this and that, I'm supposed to meet them, and I'm a little attached, and I don't know, and I was like, listen, in coaching, we focus so much on like sitting with like different emotions because we don't want to sit with them and we avoid them and we don't want to feel them. Right now, I want to do the opposite. Like, I just want you to stop talking and just allow yourself to really feel that bliss, like really feel that happiness, like feel the enjoyment of the excitement of you meeting this person without any attachment. You don't know how they're going to be, but now you're really excited about it and you really like the way they are from what you know about them. I just want you to really enjoy it and take it in. And then he's just like, okay. And then I just see him giggling and like he's smiling great for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, see, like you need to like get to learn to allow ourselves to feel the good things. So we also need to practice that, you know. So it's, but yeah, so it's so I just wanted to say also thank you for that, because it's also a great reminder for me that, like, you know, it's like I mean I know that, right, theoretically, but there's like this part of me which is like, I want to go back to that, like
I get it.
Medicine. Like I want to do more medicine, like, but yeah, it's like
I'm not sure the human system could take to be in that level of bliss 100% of the time. I mean, maybe when we leave this life, that's what we experience on a permanent basis. I don't know, but the human body, I don't think is designed to experience just permanent bliss. You know, it is kind of like,
well,
it's contrast. It's up and down.
It's contrast, but it's essentially about, it's what we're talking about here. It's pretty much the same thing. It's about really training your nervous. So listen, our nervous system, how does our nervous system function? Like it's literally electric charges running through our system. And so if we're like living in shutdown and we're not used to experiencing high energy and high vibrations and high frequencies and you know, high emotional states, high energetic states, like, yeah, it's like literally like you can short circuit your system. And that's why some people will literally pass out during you know, like medicine, or like even during like intensive like spiritual or like meditation experiences, just because their system cannot take it. Like it's a self-protection. And so it's like, that's, again, it's like, you know, our mentor always says, like, stop trying to make yourself feel better, just get better at feeling.
Yes, exactly.
So you're constantly expanding your nervous system, and you're like increasing like the frequencies that you can feel.
The spectrum you can be with. Yeah.
And like literally it's literally like an electric charge, you know? And so it's like if your system can't, like if somebody just has no prior experience of like feeling high charges, like you could literally blast out your system if you were to feel what somebody else is feeling. But if you do the work and you like, you know, it was literally when I was like on the medicine and I felt this intense bliss, like it was really at the edge of what my body could take. Like I felt like I couldn't take it, but it was really stretching. It was like, I can't take it. Like it's too much charge. But like, it was, you know, it was like, just surrender. And I was literally seeing this image. It was like expand. And I was literally taking my hands and I was like, expand. Like it just literally expanding, like with my hands, like my energy feels like expand, Claire. You can't take it, just expand, receive it, expand. And that's how I was working with it. And so just to sort of contradict, it's like yes and no. It's like you can train yourself, because your body is a system that you can train, and it's like there's different frequencies, and you know, like people who channel different light bodies and entities and things like that, it's because their system can handle it. Like there's an insane amount of preparation. Like it's like, you know, like there's like Asur Toxel, who's a channel, like apparently like I think 2 years prior, he started channeling. Like his guides told him, like, you need to prepare, and this is how you're gonna prepare. And like the channels, like the guides, they just told him how, and he was just like sitting and just preparing his system to be able to receive that amount of charge. But like a standard, like a human who has not done that kind of work, like you can't just drop like a light the channel for you, because it would blast out your system, like it would explode literally. But like for him, it's possible because he's done the work, and he can run these charges for his system, right? So it's like, yes, like it's intense, but we can train ourselves. But that's why, like we could sit all the time in bliss, but there's the amount of work that we need to do prior to be able to sit in that high frequency all the time is also tremendous. So like you can get there, but chances are right now you're not there. So then try to go there, because like it's not possible. And it's like if you blast yourself out, like you blast yourself out, you're gonna end up exhausted and sick, and it's like you're gonna experience it. It's like when people take drugs, like like you take ecstasy, like you experience this intense high, it's great, but the next day you're like, fuck, like because you juiced yourself up, right? Because you're not used to that, like the amount of charge. So it's like it's like coffee, like they say, you're like using energy from the future, like you take in and then you don't have it later, right? I actually experienced something like this summer. Like I went to see an energy healer, and he's like basically just asks like whatever this person needs, like I'm just gonna channel into them. So like just ask for like the highest frequencies, like benevolent energy to like channel through you. And like I immediately when he touched me, like I felt so much energy and so much charge running through. And after that, like I felt like I was wired in electricity. It's funny because he used to be an electrician as well, and then like the way he got activated, like he got kind of electrocuted, and since then like he like feels energies intensely, can like channel different energies, and like insane. But so I literally felt like I was like, electrified, like plugged into electrodes. And then if I drank some coffee, I would just like, it was unbearable. Like, it's like I couldn't literally be in my body. And like every day, it kind of like for like a week or two after the healing that I received from him, it literally felt like it was too much, almost too much charge for my system. Like he pumped some high frequencies. Like we touched some really, really high frequencies. And it's like the frequencies were too high to like coexist with some of the shit that was still in my body, like some of the like lower frequencies. Like they just couldn't even coexist. It was like something was like literally trying to like pop outside of my body. Like it was so uncomfortable. Like it's like they literally couldn't, like my body was like, I can't hold these things together right now. Like I just can't hold it in. And so it really felt like I really touched like the extremity, like the point where I almost can't take it, where it was like really on the edge. And it was like, okay, like I just need to ground and be with this, and like allow my system to expand and to be able to take that. Does that make sense?
It does. We're going to have to do a part 2, Claire, because I just feel the energy you're bringing through is incredible. But I've got a hard stop for today. I just wish we could go on and on and on. But incredible to hear about your experiences, and maybe we'll catch up in a month or two and just see how your integration's going, because there's a lot of energy coming through you. There are a lot of lessons coming through, and it's about how you then integrate and process. Obviously, we do that within community, which is so important. Sitting with others, grounded templates for you to integrate this stuff, which has been a really huge influence on my own journey. But we shall have to leave it there for today. But thank you so much for joining, Claire. So hopefully we'll catch up again soon. For anyone interested in the work that we've experienced, you can talk to me about ayahuasca or Claire about ayahuasca, I'm sure. But this other work that we do, the grounding work, the healing work that you can do in between ceremonies like this, you can book a call with me. Just reach out to me on Messenger at any time. And also I'll open up one of my group meditations, probably the weekend after this one. You can sit with many, many powerful energy workers like Claire, and we all come together and feel for our experience. Very, very powerful. But yes, if you're called to the ayahuasca experience, it's another level again. Just make sure you get that calling. But yes, for now, Claire, thanks so much for joining, sharing your experiences.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely.
Being that example of this amazing life you're living, following your intuition and that higher calling. And yes, hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you, Mark. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Bye
for
for
listening.
now.
Bye.
Bye.